I'm going to tell you twice. Just like I told my wife last night. I'm coming. Just like that Coke 9000, baby. I'm telling you, I'm coming. When I'm in there from the back and she look back at me, I want you to know I'm coming. When she on top and I say, get off. Because I'm coming.
We here. And because we here, give me my darn theme music. I'm upset.
No disrespect, respectfully. But disrespectfully is disrespect. Don't be disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans. Poor little girl, them. And I'ma tell them why I'm mad. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. The other state, and of course, as always, I'm upset.
As a Michigan fan, I am not upset. Michigan 30-3 winners over ECU. Welcome for a special edition this week. It is going to be a week 1 recap, so prepare yourselves. I'm not going to go through every game because I don't have the time. I'm just going to go through what's important, right? What's important to the college football landscape, what's important to Michigan, most importantly, because this is a Michigan channel. It will always be a Michigan channel, so fret not. We do need to do some housekeeping, though. Let's start with the other state and their quarterback situation. Before we go any further, make sure you like and subscribe. Share this live. You're going to want to hear this one. Everybody needs to hear what I have to say today. The other state went and played a football game in Bloomington, Indiana. It was a road game. You have to give them that latitude. Their quarterback situation seems to be in flux, to say the least. I say that because everybody that's here today in this live right now has more passing yards than Devin Brown, who went 1 of 3 for -2 yards. And most of the people here haven't even played a down of college football and have more passing yards than Devin Brown. That being said, there is the situation of the starting quarterback for the other state, one Kyle McCord, who also looked a little shaky. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to say it for you as a Michigan fan. Kyle McCord.
Bona fide scrub. He can't play.
He can't play. It was week 1. We do expect things to get better, not just for them, but for many programs around the country, including Michigan, which we'll get into now, right? Michigan had a home game against ECU. You've already seen me talk about it on the channel. I won't spend too much time beating this horse. However, Michigan was without head coach Jim Harbaugh. They were without offensive coordinator Sharon Moore. Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Wolverines, played or was in as the head coach, and Kirk Campbell, the quarterback coach, was actually the offensive coordinator. He was calling the plays. Michigan in the first half looked good. I'm going to go ahead and say it. They looked good other than the run game, which I got some flack from in the comment section from Michigan fans who apparently only want to hear good things about Michigan. I am a Michigan fan through and through. However, I'm just going to call it like I see it. And if you have a different viewpoint of Michigan and what happened, then that's fair. What's fair is fair. That's your opinion. I'm not mad at you for it. But there was a couple people that were really upset because I called out Michigan's run game. Not to say that it won't get better. I expect it to get better. I expect it to be better this week. But chill. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Michigan's going to be able to run the football. We know that. Donovan Edwards is too good. Blake Corum is too good. That offensive line is too good to be held down. We know they'll be able to run the football. Got to keep it 100. Thank you. 0. Got to keep it. Got to keep it a stack. That's all. We know they're going to be able to run the football. DS says Ohio State should be concerned. They should be concerned because once again, Kyle McCord.
Bona fide scrub. He can't play.
I'm just saying, don't kill the messenger. But moving forward with Michigan. Next week, they play UNLV. Welcome UNLV to the big house. I expect a bigger chunk of the game to be run. I expect this game to be more run heavy than it was in this previous week. I expect Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards to have great games. I'm going to go ahead and forecast both Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards over 100 yards. I could be wrong, and I'll be back to tell you I was wrong. But I think both of those guys go over 100 yards. Both of them see the end zone, maybe even multiple times. That said, we got to give JJ his credit. JJ looked phenomenal, and he didn't necessarily set the world on fire with the stats statistically in terms of yards, but he threw 3 touchdowns, all of which to the guy who now dons the number 1 jersey at Michigan, who may have had some questions before this season about wearing that jersey, but after game 1, he looked really good in that jersey. Roman Wilson, 3 touchdowns, all of JJ's touchdown passes to Roman Wilson. A couple of those on the run looked really good. I know the first one was very controversial, and as a Michigan fan, I got to keep it real. It looked like he was over that line, but I wasn't upset that they didn't call it back. Of course not. Don't call it back. Before we go any further, make sure you like and share this. Everyone needs to hear what I have to say. I know it's gonna upset some people eventually. We've already been over the other state. If you just got in here, we talked about the other state. Kyle McCord is a bona fide scrub, according to Stephen A. Stephen A. said it, not me. So be mad at him. That said, JJ looked phenomenal, and it wasn't just the stats, it was the layering. He layered the football really well. He made throws over the middle, which I believe all season is going to be there. We can talk about that maybe on another one, but really quickly, passes over the middle against Michigan are going to be there because people are going to stack the box. They're going to blitz linebackers and run blitz situations to try to stop Michigan's run attack. And those passes over the middle are going to be there, and JJ has to take advantage of it. And he did that in game 1. So I expect to see more of that moving forward. Of course, Jim Harbaugh will remain suspended this week. Offensive coordinator Sharon Moore will be back, so that's a plus. Jay Harbaugh and Mike Hart will be head coaches this week, first and second half. I believe second half Mike Hart, first half Jay Harbaugh. But we got other things to talk about, including a major upset, right? Deion Sanders, Coach Prime in Colorado, went on the road to Texas Christian University, who beat Michigan, unfortunately, in the college football playoff a season ago. It was a different Texas Christian University team. I'm going to go ahead and say it, right? They were definitely better a year ago, but they were ranked in the top 25 this year. They were expected to beat the Buffs by 20-plus points. And Deion and the Buffaloes went and won that game. Is McCord better than Cade McNamara? That's, I guess the jury's still out. We're going to get to Cade McNamara too, actually, because I heard some very disturbing things about Cade McNamara and the way he treated JJ when he was here. So we're going to talk a little bit about Cade, who actually looked good in his first outing with the Hawkeyes. So, but right now, as it stands right now, Trevor Coles, he is not better than Cade McNamara, which don't kill the messenger. And Killer Dog says, I believe it all came down to coaching. Harbaugh would have switched things up real quick. I believe that as well. Jim Harbaugh is a seasoned head coach. No disrespect to Jesse Minter, who did a phenomenal job, in my opinion, under the circumstances, right? He's the defensive coordinator who was thrust into this position by the university because they self-imposed a suspension on the head coach and the offensive coordinator. So I'm not mad at Jesse Minter for the job he done. And he did a bang-up job, if you ask me. 30-3 in your first ever coaching job. I don't care if you were playing, Dunbar High School. He did a decent job, right? So kudos to Jesse Minter. Kudos to Kirk Campbell, who also called a great game, I believe, especially through the first, 2.5 quarters. Did a great job. One of the things that is troubling, though, and I'm going backwards now for a second. One of the things that troubled me a little bit was the fact that Michigan only scored 7 points in the second half. That can't happen, right? Especially against a team like that. If you got your foot on the neck, keep it on the neck. They should not be in games with Michigan. Not that they were never really in this game, but Michigan, I believe the spread was 36.5. They won by 27. Of course, they did kick a late field goal just to get on the scoreboard, which a lot of Michigan fans didn't like. And I got to be honest, I was on that same page at first, but I understand too that this is a head coach of a football team, a group of 5 football team. He's trying to send messages to his kids too, like, we can score on anybody. It's something mentally about having points on the board rather than going home with, a donut. So I understand that. I'm not mad at them for that. Is McCourt better than Cade? McCourt doesn't have a body of work. That's why I said, the jury is still out on that. I know game 1, I would pick Cade right now. That's for sure. But McCourt has time. I'm sure, they'll right the ship to some degree over there. But I don't know. Speaking of Cade McNamara, let's get into this section here. The truth about Cade McNamara. I heard some very disturbing news about Cade McNamara and the way he treated JJ McCarthy. Be sure if you have questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll try to get to everybody's questions. But Cade McNamara, apparently during his time at Michigan, when it was clear that JJ McCarthy was going to come to Michigan. In fact, JJ McCarthy committed to Michigan. He reached out and did the responsible thing as an incoming quarterback. He reached out to the incumbent quarterback, which would be Cade McNamara in this situation, and told him and asked him, "Hey, I would like to learn from you, the tricks of the trade, anything you can teach me, anything you can help me with. I'm here. Let's work." And apparently Cade McNamara ghosted JJ McCarthy. Why would you do that? Is Cade McNamara insecure? Was he insecure? Did he not believe that he could hold off the young buck in JJ McCarthy? It doesn't matter now, I know, because he's not here, but that was interesting. It made me look at Cade in a different light. Before knowing this, I wanted Cade to be successful. I still wish him no harm, of course, but that's kind of ugly. And so, and apparently other things happened during his time here that we won't get into. But it's not a good look for Cade McNamara doing that. Cade had a Big Ten championship. McCord haven't done anything. That's a fact. The original. I cannot dispute that. I can't argue against that for sure. No one can. Cade McNamara, who I credit, I'm going to go ahead, because even though what I just said about Cade, if that's true, that's trash, and we don't like that. We don't condone that. Don't be a hater, be a congratulator, right? But Cade McNamara, I stand on this statement. I stand on it. Is the most important player in modern Michigan history, at least since 2000. He really turned this thing around. He was the catalyst for turning it around, right? And it started with replacing Joe Milton, who also had a good game. So shout out to Joe Milton. But it started with him replacing Joe Milton, who was driving us right into the toilet bowl before Cade came in there to rescue us against Rutgers of all teams, who looked like a really good team, who actually looks like a college football team this past weekend, beating what is not a college football team at Northwestern. So there's that. But he, against Northwestern, against Rutgers of all teams, came in, double overtime effort, won the game. That really started the turnaround for Michigan. The following year, of course, we win the Big Ten. We go to the college football playoff. So I got to give Cade credit for that. I stand on that. I'll do that forever. Cade McNamara, catalyst, along with the coaching staff and Jim Harbaugh for turning things around at Michigan, turning that thing around against the other state. Oh, awful, god awful. Moving on though, because I don't want to lose this. I don't want this to be lost in translation, because a lot of people gave this guy a lot of flack, and I'm talking about Coach Prime, and I don't he is not going to be, don't worry, this is a Michigan channel. I'm not going to be, switching it over to Colorado or anything like that. But, we will talk about other teams in college football as well. But Coach Prime did something this weekend that is significant. He beat a top 25 team that was supposed to beat his team by 20 plus points. His son, Shedeur Sanders, went out, immediately put himself on the Heisman watch list, 510 yards in his first ever Power 5 game, 4 touchdowns. He looked super sharp, completed 80% of his passes. You can't really ask for more than that against the team that played in the national championship game a year ago. Like, it's not like they went and did this to ECU even, right? No disrespect to ECU. They did this against a team that just a year ago was in the championship. The defense, though, is questionable. His other son, Shiloh, did have 10 tackles. So the Sanders family really won Saturday, along with the Buffs. But that's neither here nor there. When Prime begins to recruit 4-star defensive tackles, it's a wrap. I agree with that. Colorado is going to be a real problem, and I think it's going to start early because they just beat this team on national television that was supposed to wipe the floor with them. Kids are already interested, trust me. After the LSU loss, what do you think the status of Bryce Underwood? Man, I'm glad you brought this up. I'm so glad you brought this up. Brian Kelly went out there and may have ruined his chances, and Lord knows I hope he ruined his chances with Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood is the most significant recruit for Michigan in recent history, even more so than Dante Moore, even more so than CJ Carr. Bryce Underwood is a program transforming talent. If you've been watching my channel, you know I've put out videos that include his high school film. He looks like a professional right now. He's making professional throws. Just a couple weeks ago, he led his team Belleville High School against rival River Rouge. And in the last 45 seconds, they drive like 60 yards down the field. He throws a dart, a 45-yard touchdown pass. It was beautiful. It was almost scripted. It was so beautiful, right? It was like a movie was being written starring Bryce Underwood, about Bryce Underwood, and he performed. He's insanely talented. Kyler Hall, bro, throwing darts for sure. For sure. It's not even a question. This year's team for OSU is different. Marv could sit out and still go first round. Can any Michigan wide receiver sit out? Definitely not. And I agree with you, Goj, G-O-J, if it's Goj or if it's G-O-J, I agree with you. Marvin Harrison should probably even consider sitting out. If this is the level of quarterback play he's going to have all year, I would sit out. He's that good. He's going to go top 5 in the NFL draft. I know last night, if you followed me on Twitter, when Keon Coleman was going off, which, by the way, Lil Bro Nim, we gotta talk to you. We gotta talk to y'all too. We got things to talk about Michigan State. But when Keon Coleman was going off, I joked. I was trolling last night on Twitter. I said Keon Coleman is doing what Marvin Harrison was supposed to do, but Marvin Harrison can't do that without a good quarterback, right? I think Marvin Harrison caught 2 passes for 18 yards in that game against Indiana. Not very good. And to go even further with your question, Goj, Michigan cannot, like Roman Wilson can't sit out and Michigan be successful. Cornelius Johnson can't sit out, Michigan be successful, at least in the passing game, right? We know what we can do on the ground. We know what we expect from the ground game. We got 2 All-Americans really running the football. We got All-Americans scattered across that offensive line. Michigan's going to be okay either way, but to pass the ball effectively, no Michigan wide receiver that is currently starting can sit out. So there's that. Carnell Tate, though, the true freshman for the other state, I believe everything they said about him in practice. That's the only thing. 2 catches, 18 yards yet. Seth, can Michigan close on Underwood? That's the only thing in question. You're right. A lot of things are going to factor into this, right? If LSU keeps going the way of most Brian Kelly teams, then I think Michigan's chances are fantastical, by the way. That and NIL. I know not much has been said about NIL when it comes to Bryce Underwood, but we got to be realistic. He's like the best quarterback in the country. He's the number 1 or number 2 recruit on most recruiting services. He deserves even being with that level of hype to benefit from his name. And Michigan is going to have to get their NIL thing together. I expect that they will. I know Jim is fighting for it. We've heard Jim in the media talk about players and their right to the money for their likeness and the even sharing, right, with the financial institutions, with the NCAA, whichever it is, which, by the way, the NCAA probably won't be around too long, but that's for another show. Land Underwood, UM should go at it with OSU picking up Aaron Nolan. Yeah, I agree. Here's another thing, the original, and shout out to you for this. Michigan has landed a quarterback in the 2024 class that is not getting the love from the recruiting services that he deserves, because Jaden Davis is probably playing better than any high school quarterback in America right now. Like, he's almost got 1,000 yards through 3 games. He's got like 18 touchdowns, 17 or 18 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I think he's completing like 74% of his passes. He looks like the truth. Meanwhile, Aaron Nolan, sorry, Goes, you're about to hate this. Aaron Nolan, who I do believe will be good, threw like 3 picks in his last game against a team from North Carolina who, according to the other state fans on Twitter, North Carolina football doesn't compare to Georgia football, which I actually am in agreement with. However, Aaron Nolan's Georgia team played a team from North Carolina, and Aaron Nolan looked pretty pedestrian. So there's that. Keep that in mind, while, of course, Jaden Davis plays in North Carolina, and he is doing what he's doing. Chip doesn't want to be with that. He doesn't want to be the smoke. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying here, Seth, but Jordan Shipp, who is committed to North Carolina, should reconsider. I'm just going to go ahead and say that he should reconsider. He should come to Michigan. But, we aren't recruiters necessarily, although I know for a fact that some of the recruits watch my videos. I know for a fact they've told me personally. So I try to be as respectful as possible, not just because they watch the videos, but because, they are kids. Jaden Davis is on fire. Give him back his 5th star. If I can share a pick, I got their stats side by side. It's not even close. You're right. I don't know if you have Twitter. If you have Twitter, at Maize Madman on Twitter with that pick, I can definitely get it up from there. It's insane. Let's get back to what we were talking about, though. Let's go ahead and move on to the SEC. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you share the live. I'll be doing this. I'll try to do this at least once a week, right? Recapping the previous week. We've already spoken about the other state and how god awful they look. We've already talked about Michigan and how they can improve, but how they still look good, right? It's Michigan. We expect big things like the Big Ten title, like the Natty this year. Natty or bust, we're all in on it. We talked about Coach Prime a little bit. We didn't even get into what I really wanted to get into with him, but it's okay. We'll move on. Let's talk a little bit about the Pac-12. Before I get to the SEC, we're going to save them. We got a special place for the SEC. Pac-12 might be the best conference in college football. Now give me a second. I know some people got their eyebrows raised. I know you're thinking, what is Triple M talking about? What you talk about 3 times? I'm going to tell you exactly. I'm going to tell you why I believe this. The Pac-12 went 12-0 this past weekend. The last year of the Pac-12 as we know it, because next year it looks like it's going to be the Tupac. It's the Tupac next year. Shout out to Ryan for that. It's not going to be the Pac-12. It's going to be down to two teams, Washington State, Oregon State, because Clemson and Cal just got accepted along with SMU into the ACC. So things are shifting around. Of course, the Big Ten is taking 4 of those teams. I believe the Big 12 is also taking 4, maybe 3, something like that. So anyway, the Pac-12 is going to be no longer the Pac-12. And as much as Oregon State and Washington State say they're going to stick around and try to rebuild that thing, they'll probably be Mountain West teams by the end of the year. Just keeping it a stack with you. That said, one thing that I do think is indisputable, whether or not you believe that the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football, which my guy Josh clearly does not. Shout out to Josh. Shout out to Week 0. And that's fair. They may not be the best conference in college football. They did go undefeated this weekend. One thing that is indisputable, though, is that the Pac-12 has the best quarterback play in the nation. And I'm talking as a collective, right? You probably can one-off some things, right? You'll say Drake May. Some might say Sam Hartman, JJ McCarthy even. But as a collective, from top to bottom, the quarterback play in the Pac-12 is crazy good. We're starting with the Heisman Trophy winner from a year ago, Caleb Williams. I'm not even going to argue with anybody that thinks he's not a good college football quarterback. Tell it to your mama. Save it for your mama. Michael Penix Jr. in Washington, excellent quarterback. DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson, now of Oregon State, looked good the other night, or last night, I believe he played. Then there's Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to say it again. Shedeur Sanders. 510 yards, 4 touchdowns, 80% of his passes complete. That Shedeur, son of Coach Prime, that Shedeur is put himself on a Heisman watch list. Like I said, that Shedeur is a great quarterback. Bo Nix for Oregon, extremely good quarterback. The quarterback play in the Pac-12 top to Jaden Rashada, Arizona State, young guy, freshman. Dante Moore looked decent. The guy that is actually starting for UCLA, I'm not too sure about, but whatever. We're not going to get too far into that. I don't want to get too far into the weeds there, but the quarterback play in the Pac-12, unquestionably the best to me. Bo Nix is 30 years old. That's a fact. It seems like Bo Nix has been playing quarterback since I was in high school, and I'm not going to age myself, but Bo Nix has been playing college football for a long time. Somebody needs to check the receipts. All right. It was only one COVID pandemic. All right. He shouldn't have all these years to play college football. I'm just saying. Rashada, I forgot him. Bet Florida wants him back. That's a fact. Florida, which is part of this SEC talk we're going to get into in just a second. They're a joke. Let's talk about Ohio State looking sus against Indiana. Yes, Indiana. Rutgers is better. Mello, where's Mello? Yeah, Mello has been in my AA. And Mello, you better not be trying to duck because this bet is coming up and y'all looking like y'all looking. But by the way, that was Ryan, Wicked Bronco Productions. Make sure you follow him in Week 0. Ryan, we've already talked about the other state and how suspect they look, but you're right. Indiana, whether or not Rutgers is better than Indiana, I don't know. Defensively, Indiana looked decent enough, but Rutgers might be better. Make sure you like and share the live. Thank you. OSU fans say McCord will be better than JJ. At what? Because it's not quarterback. Is he a better student? I doubt it at the other state. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. But there's that. Ohio State will play their version of ECU Saturday. Look good. I agree with that. Ohio State's next game, I believe, is Youngstown State. I expect them to have a bounce back in a big way. Expect 100 plus from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ejigba. I mean, not Ejigba, Egbuka. They got weird names over there. And like I said, the freshman, Carnell Tate, he looks like the real deal. I expect McCord to have a decent game against Youngstown State as well. So there's that. They will have a bounce back. I can't wait to see Notre Dame put it on Ohio. It's going to be fun to watch. Week 4, We got that one circled. We got a very special guest coming up on the Maize Blue and Gold show that week, Mr. Buckeye Garrison, or Garrison, who is also has his own channel. I'm sorry, my microphone is dropping. He also has his own channel, Scarlet and Blue. It's like a Buckeye, Michigan channel. Go check them out. They do great work over there. Shout out to them. 5 seconds are up. What we need? 5 seconds for what? Quick name 1-star. Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw this. Quick name 1-star defensive player in the Pac-12. You're at 5. You're right. You're right. Look, they got talent. Like USC has talent. They got names over there. Damani Jackson, right? Who should have gone to Michigan, by the way, who's probably wishing he'd gone to Michigan now. Don't sleep on the Penguins of Youngstown. Western Kentucky game is looking actually scary now, though. Western Kentucky should actually play. Western Kentucky is a good team, but it's not going to happen. I want you to stop doing that, Ryan. Ohio State is not going to lose. Listen to me, Ohio State. The other state is not going to lose to Youngstown State or Western Kentucky. It's not going to happen. I downloaded Twitter just to send you the stats. Shout out to you, man. That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to you. I'm about to find this right now, and we're going to get this up on the screen. It's at Maize Madman. Be sure to at me there, and I'll get it right up. Shout out to that guy. That's what I'm talking about. Taking action. If OSU plays like that against Western Kentucky, you think they win? Yeah. I mean, they're just better. They're talented. I let Aaron Childs have it about him choosing Florida over Michigan. Man, Moose, Aaron Childs is not. I'm sure he's rethinking things too. Not try to violate standards, but whoever said McCord will be better than JJ obviously partakes in illegal drugs. Too much delusional. Thank you. Because I'm not sure what he's going to be better at. They gotta be more specific. Like, you can't just say he's going to be better than JJ. He's going to be better than JJ at what? Driving? Ringing up people at the grocery store, which looks like McCord is well on his way to doing. You got to be more specific than that, baby. What's he going to be better at? They ain't even the best team in the state of Ohio. Toledo. Jesus, Ryan has a lot of smoke for those people in scarlet and gray today. Let's move on. No, let's talk a little bit about the SEC. I've talked about the Pac-12. I talked about Pac-12 quarterbacks and why I think they are the best in the nation as a group, as a whole, top to bottom. But let's talk about the SEC and their woes on the road. It starts with Florida. Florida famously flipped, or it wasn't a flip because he hadn't committed to Michigan, but Aaron Childs, by all intents and purposes, was going to be a Wolverine. Shout out to Zay, Big Zay, BMF. Shout out to BMF, man. Zay, I think I did see a tweet. You said you guys won. Your son's team won. Shout out to them. But yeah, so Aaron Childs, by all intents and purposes, was well on his way to being a Wolverine. He goes to visit Florida in Gainesville. Somehow the Brinks truck ends up in his driveway. He is a Gator, whatever, right? And so I'm not a big Gator fan because of that, right? Call me scorned, whatever you want to call me, I'm that, right? But the Gators had a game against Utah, part of the home and home there. They traveled to Utah. They got a new quarterback in Graham Mertz. They thought Graham Mertz, by the way, of Wisconsin fame. If you're a Big Ten fan, you are well aware of Graham Mertz. He is exactly who we thought he is. Graham Mertz, they got that quarterback. They're like, we did it. We're now gonna be a successful football team here in the SEC and outside, right? They packed up Graham Mertz and the rest of those Gators and traveled to Utah, where they were then repacked. They were packed up at Utah and sent back to Gainesville with an L. So that's SEC team number 1 that drops, right? They're out of there. Pack them up, get them out of there. Let's get to some of these questions. JJ ain't going into the draft unless we win the championship. Flat out, I agree with that. And I also have some comments on that as it pertains to Jaden Davis and Bryce Underwood. And it's I need us to win the championship, and I need JJ to get drafted, and I need JJ to go in the first round. But that's another thing. Hey, remember Vegas at Florida team at yes, I do. Over under 5.5 games. And now I think they're gonna struggle. They're gonna struggle to get to that 5.5 games. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm sorry, I was talking about Florida being packed up. They got packed up, sent back to Gainesville. That's that. Then you get into what's the other team? The next team is South Carolina. South Carolina in the battle for the Carolina plays UNC. Drake May and company. Drake May throws 2 picks, gives them a couple gifts, and they still get packed up by, a couple scores, more than a couple scores. South Carolina, SEC team, Spencer Rattler, Rah-Rah, as some people like to call him. I watched the show too. I thought Spencer Rattler was going to be a good college football quarterback. The jury says that is also a lie. Spencer Rattler is very average. He proved it again this weekend. And South Carolina consequently got packed up. All right. By the way, shout out to South Carolina because they also got a 5-star player who was supposed to go to Michigan in the 2023 class, Nicholas Harbor out of Washington, D.C. They made all this fuss because his dad is like a rocket scientist. Mom is a doctor. He's very smart. He's not looking for NIL money. Somehow the Brinks truck ended up in his driveway too. They tried to hide it in the garage though this time. And he goes to South Carolina. Who goes to South Carolina over Michigan? I don't care about your track and field. I don't care about you not wanting to play defensive end, which is not smart, by the way. You should probably play defensive end. You wanted the money. Let's keep it a buck. Now, as we move on, because now we get to the big game. Last night, all the hype is LSU, Brian Kelly and his recruiting and the transfer portal and Jalen Daniels and Neighbors. They're going to put it on FSU last night. And that did not happen. Jordan Travis and company had other plans. And I have to say this, and I'm glad that Michigan doesn't have to see Keon Coleman this year. All we need is for Keon Coleman to have a night like he had last night against the Wolverines, which probably wouldn't happen because Will Johnson in the no-fly zone back there is not allowing that. However, he went out and had himself a ball game. He looked like the player that Marvin Harrison Jr. is supposed to be. Don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger. That said, BMF Trash don't like the way. No, we're not doing this. Big Ten wide receiver, put them on the hub. Shout out to you, Moose, though. I like Moose. You're my guy. Big Ten wide receiver, put them on the hub. For sure. For sure. Michigan. Let's see what else we got. Michigan has been dormant for years, people. Program is not, I have to go there, program yet. Come on, man. Goj, I thought we were on common ground here for a second. And then you come out and you say something like this. You know where you at? You know where you at? I'm messing with you, man. Nah, that's cool. Like, and you might even be on to something, right? Michigan was habitually losing to the other state for a long time. It was habitual. It was like breathing oxygen. We was, wake up that day, that late November day, go lose to the Buckeyes in the end of season, right? However, that is not yesterday's price is not today's price. You got it all wrong now. You live in a different reality now, and you're gonna have to get used to it. I'm just saying, I feel you, big dog. I feel you. You run with that. Whoa, is this to me? I don't know what's happening in the comment section. The JJ hate is real. That kid is phenomenal. Alex, I agree with you. JJ passed the heck out of the football. He layered the football very well. He looked defenders off. He did the shoulder shimmy, give him a little Dak Prescott, and then go over their head. So JJ looked absolutely phenomenal. Watch your mouth. I won't be asking you out of respect for my man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. No fighting, especially amongst Michigan fans in the comment section. Come on, y'all. Come on. Skipping your comments. My bad. What was your comment, Ryan? Go ahead. Repeat that. It's the Pac-12. Let's move on to a different, maybe less violent topic here, because clearly we got some people ready to go for this one. What's your expectations for the season? Expectations for Michigan, simple. Win the Natty. It's Natty or bust for Michigan. We all know that. That's how I feel. That's how the team feels. That's how the fans feel. If you feel differently, you're probably a fan of some team like Lil Bro Nim or the other state. Either way, you're wrong. Disclaimer, I'm a Buckeyes fan, but enjoy your content time to time. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. I appreciate that. Look, I grew up in Ohio. I'm from Dayton. My family, my entire family are Buckeye fans. I get it. I'm a subscriber. I appreciate that. Speaking of subscribers, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button here now, and share the live. We're going to hop out of here in about 15 minutes. Make sure you get your questions together. What are you talking about? FSU wide receiver core better than OSU. Best wide receiver core in the country was 6'7". Hey, you said that, not me. I'm not gonna go that far. I do think the other state has a decent wide receiver core. They got a good one, actually. It's good over there. Carnell Tate, the freshman, I can't say enough about. He looked good. He was open all the time. He caught it with his hands. He's gonna be good. I'm not worried about him though. Ryan, the best wide receiver core is in Colorado. I don't know about that unless we just, although you may be onto something, because what I didn't bring up is that they have 4 receivers go over 100 yards. One of them was a running back, I'm pretty sure though. But 4 people over 100 yards is insanely good. Michigan could win 4 natties in a row, and Ohio State fans will still say they are better and that Michigan was just lucky. I agree with this statement, Wolverine fan too. I don't know what reality or alternate reality the other state fans live in, but it's crazy. Travis Hunter drops passes unlike Keon Coleman. That's a fact too. Early on, Travis Hunter dropped a couple balls. They probably could have won by multiple scores if he catches a couple of those. So he does drop passes, but he played 100+ snaps in that game. That's insane. He played defense. He played offense. He was Charles Woodson. He played like all the snaps. It's crazy. She thought it was just a break. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening here. Pac-12D. Oh, yes. The Pac-12 defense is questionable. Even Colorado's defense is questionable. It's ironic that they're going to the Big 12 because they fit right in. Big 12, no defense, a lot of offense. Colorado going back home where they came from in the Big 12. They have blocked you on X. Are you the one who was disrespecting me? And what is going on? Can we have a little kumbaya in the comment section? Because either way, when it's time to play the other state, we're going to look them in the face and say this.
He's about to get this work. Hold up. He going to get this work. You going to get this work.
And if you missed it, I stole this from Ryan, but come
Bonafide scrub. He can't play.
Bonafide. Certified, bonafide, certified. Bruh, Phil, did you see OSU fans blaming the Heat in game time for playing bad against Indiana? I didn't see that. I did not see them blaming the Heat in game time. However, I am not shocked, not even a little bit, because they blamed the snow in Ann Arbor 2 years ago. Last year, I don't know what they blamed it on. The sky was too blue. There were no clouds. It was a perfect fall day. I don't know what happened last year, but I'm sure they blamed it on something. This is the worst I've seen the other state. There are no guys like Ryan Shazier, Nick or Joey Bosa or Chase Young, where it's like, damn, we have to play them in their quarterback situation. It's terrible. I agree, Andre. It's nothing right now that really scares me about them. Marvin Harrison is their best player by far. But Will Johnson is Will Johnson. Will Johnson is Himothy. And there's nothing they could do right now that has me worried. List so far of reasons why OSU can't dominate trash teams. Rain, wind, heat, weather, cold, game time. I wasn't talking bad about a recruit. I just don't kill. Okay, so this is still happening. I thought that was something else. But look, guys, I want to thank everyone who came here. Hopefully, Zay and Moose, we're going to get this cleared up because we can't have this, right? BMF, man. Moose, join the BMF movement. You my guy. You know how I rock with you, Moose. Zay, I appreciate you coming through the live, man. We'll try to do this more often. In fact, you got to come up one time. I'm definitely going to start participating in those spaces. I know I told you that. I'll be in there. I'll be listening. I just be waiting for the right conversation to hop in, but I'm going to definitely start participating in those lives. Ryan, you know how we go. Tomorrow, expect me and Ryan to be right here, 6 o'clock for the Maize Blue and Gold show. We back live. And till next time, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.